Hello and welcome to my video on how I won a $200 Turbo 6-player sit and go tournament on Ignition. This being $200 US to be precise. And yeah, this was kind of a fun little experience where, when I was playing these tournaments in the past, I was already kind of doing it profitably, but I felt that in this one, my mental game was really a lot stronger than previously, where, setbacks and bad beats were not really tilting me as such. And another difference I also noticed is that it's kind of weird, but I would previously study quite a lot and then try so hard to apply what I was studying that whenever my opponent did something different, I would sort of get caught up in, why what they were doing was wrong rather than, just making the adjustments and keeping a good mental frame. And so that's kind of the background of, what I was doing. I was also studying a lot of different poker books. I read a bunch of poker books. I was watching a lot of the WSOP, not really doing so much solver work. I was solving some solver puzzles, but definitely much more thinking from the human point of view for poker, as it were, in the last weeks. And so that I'd like to share with you kind of how that affected my approach for these hands, just so you can kind of see for yourself. Okay, I'm just going to fast forward pretty fast through this one, just in case you're curious to see what hands they showed up with, but okay, we don't find out, no problem. But yeah, I could sort of notice, I think you can't see the statistics, but what you're going to see is that this guy here is a bit of a maniac, and I kind of figured that out fairly quickly, actually. So in this spot, I thought, okay, he could have just got a good run of hands, so let's just flat the ace-8 suited. If it was ace-10 suited, yeah, you can 4-bet bluff it, but okay, it does make the variance a lot higher, and these players are obviously not very good on Ignition. I find that the players here are probably even softer, you could argue, than the ones in the $5, $10, $20, but anyway, but I realize it's not a very high bar. But yeah, when he bets, you notice that there's no need to go crazy and raise or anything. We're just going to call, and I already figured this guy was a maniac, so I figured let's just give him the rope to hang himself. Because if you bet and you get raised, what worse hands are raising there, right? It would be somewhat overvaluing an ace, but how many combos are that? Not the greatest number. Because ace-5 suited, ace-3 suited, ace-2 suited, some of them will 4-bet bluff as well. If you would 4-bet or 5-bet bluff even in some cases. Probably not in these games to be fair, but it's at least what the solver would do. Have a few of those bluffs mixed in there for balance. And this half pot bat's just a pure value bet. I was being a little exploitative, and I realized here I probably should size down a bit. Maybe make it 1/3 or 1/4, and try to get paid off by him big king a queen or or something like this. But I just felt he was such a bad player that he was probably going to pay off a half pot bet with a queen, with pocket jacks, with pocket kings anyway. So I kind of went for thicker value, and he doesn't pay us off. But honestly, I don't think he was paying us off for a smaller bet anyway. We'll never know for sure, but that was my feeling. If you are enjoying these videos, yeah, do make sure to subscribe to the channel, and you can also put a like as well. Just hitting that like button, something that, well, it will really show me that you value this content. So yeah, in this one, yeah, he raises to 3x, and the thought did occur to me to 3-bet him, but I realized if he 4-bets, I just have to fold. So I thought, he's raising every hand so far, so let's just keep him in the pot, do a little bit of pot control, and this one's basically a blocker bet. I was figuring that he's probably missed this board most of the time, and that if he raises, I can just get away quite cheaply. Whereas if I check and he sort of bets, it can maybe put me in a bit of an awkward spot. Now that I think about it, I probably should just check fold this hand, but I was trying to be a little exploitative, and yeah, when he raised, I just figure he has either got it or he's got an ace-x gut shot that he's bluffing with, so I just figured I'd just fold. Yeah, normally I don't do those sort of donks, to be fair. And it probably shouldn't have in that one, but yeah, when he does this again, I sort of figure, okay, he's just getting out of line, so let's just 3-bet, and he does end up folding, so that worked well. To be fair, a7 suited here is a decent 3-betting counter, but yeah, against another opponent, I would consider flatting it sometimes as well. But yeah, here, this one, yeah, here I think I got a little bit too tricky. I probably should just raise it to 40 or so, but I decided to limp, and my idea was that if he raises, I was just going to limp re-raise, just make it look like I limped aces. That was kind of the little tricky play I was going for, but yeah, he ended up checking, and I check it as well. Like in this one, I kind of just got a bit unlucky, actually. I mean, the big side does indicate strength, but I just kind of assumed that he was just a maniac just bluffing at it. I do have top pair, so I, just pay it off, which I don't think is a bad decision based on the way he's playing the other hands, but, we did flop a flush, so not much you can really do there, and, the check on the flop does mean we at least saved a bit of money in that spot. Actually, to be fair, if we bet he probably does raise, we probably get away cheaper, but in general, I think we lost the minimum in this spot. So, anyway, yeah, this one, again, I probably wouldn't raise this normally, but the players I felt were so weak, like everyone else was just folding nearly all their hands, or just calling. And so when they're not going to free bet you in general, I figured this is sort of a decent shot, and if he had free bet me, like I was probably just going to... It's actually an interesting question, like I was even considering like maybe 4-betting, but I probably was going to just flat it and just keep all his junk in there, but yeah, no, I think I probably would have 4-bet, because a6 offsuit is just such a bad hand to flat to a free bet. So yeah, I probably would have 4-bet bluffed if he'd free bet, but yeah, in this case, yeah, 2s. Again, I think here you could almost make an argument for folding this sometimes, but I figured like the guys are so bad, I do want to play more pots against them and leverage more of my skill edge, and end up just taking the pot down, which is really the best case scenario. Yeah, this is just pretty straightforward. Just going to quickly... And yeah, this was just a check fold. Like, this guy was starting to build up, a bit of a stack. And yeah, when he makes it... If he made it 2x, I'm pretty sure I would have free bet. But when he 3x's, I was thinking that King Jack suited might be a hand you want to put into flatting range, just to kind of balance both your flatting and your raising ranges. Because I felt if I just free bet him all the time, he's going to start 4-betting and put us in a bit of a leveling war, where, it would sort of come down probably to a flip in the end. So I decided, well, actually did going for the free bet, so there you go. But I mean, I do think flatting it is not so bad either, but okay, free betting worked out the best, because he just folds. And you can sort of see how I'm kind of building up a stack here, actually, that now I'm like the chip leader. Because I've basically just been taking the free bets he's basically been giving me. Also, this guy here, 1265, I had noticed actually that he was being a little bit of a nit, because I remember he tanked quite a bit as well before this min raise. So I realized like King 6 off, there is a universe where you could maybe argue for a free bet just to punish him. But I was looking at my stats, I saw like I already had free bet like 67% of the time. So I felt that like he might just 4-bet me light if I free bet here. So I just folded, and that's basically a big part I think of how I won this this tournament, actually, is I realized this guy was kind of a little bit of a nit, and I just kept folding to him. And yeah, there were probably a couple of points where I realized, oh, this guy's, that I'm over-folding and was exploiting it a bit. But it was only costing me a little bit of money, whereas I was able to really heavily exploit the much bigger mistakes that my other opponents were making, like calling too much, free betting too much, and, just folding too much sometimes. Just, all the usual stuff you can exploit. Because actually I was recently reading this book, GTO Exploits, by Dara Kearney and Barry Carter. I'm still in the process of reading it, but yeah, I actually read that on a walk, like, just before playing this game, and it was quite insightful. But yeah, this one I decided to flat. I mean, I'm aware that King Jack off, it is a 4-bet bluff, and the thought did enter my head to 4-bet bluff him. With the way the hand played out, I kind of wish I had, actually, but, I think that flatting is not the worst decision here. Because he's just, raising and re-raising all kinds of junk, so, you keep in the King 10, the King 9s, the King 8s, King 7s, King 6s. But of course, through King 7, 6 does hit, and the Jack is kind of a bad blocker, like blocking the flush draws, and, I just think that if I had an ace, like, maybe I would call, like, if I had, like, an ace, maybe an ace with gut draw, like ace 9 or ace 3, then yeah, maybe that's what I would call against this guy, or even potentially raise, if I had, like, a backdoor flush draw, like ace of diamonds, but this one, yeah, just a fold, like, yeah, probably has complete junk, but, the junk still has decent equity if it's, like, 9-10 or something, so it's just easier just to fold. Yeah, this one we just fold as well, and yeah, this guy's built up a bit of a decent stack, and I think in the past, I definitely would have got tilted by, like, losing that King-Jack hand just before, but yeah, I was still pretty sanguine about everything, and, it allowed me to, yeah, just continue to play at a high level for this, this game. This one, yeah, just folding it. Queen Jack, yeah, I was curious to see how he would approach it. We ended up getting a multi-way pot free-way. And yeah, I end up making it 50, and this guy makes it 150, and if he'd made it a bigger size, if he'd made it like 200 or 250, I probably would just fold, but when I've got overcards and also a backdoor flush draw, my odds are just too good, so I just end up calling. He ends up checking, which sort of tells me that his hand was kind of quite weak to begin with. You know, maybe he has like a, ace high or something that he was bluffing with. Which if it was heads up, yeah, that would be a reasonable enough bluff to my mind, especially if you have some backdoor equity like ace-3, ace-4, ace-5 would make sense to my mind. But I don't think he really had a follow-up planning. He was just hoping to take the pot because my bet looked really weak. Because I like do these tiny dinky bets a bit of an exploit. And again, like this is something I think that's really a reason why I've probably been a lot more successful in lower stakes in the last month or so. And I admit there's probably a bit of run good in there as well. I've been sort of winning a few more flips than I used to. Because I used to run really, really badly on Ignition. Like, my all-in percentage was like 10% lower than like, expected value for like about a couple of years. But now it's starting to balance out a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, it's okay. So I'm just like betting smaller with my bluffs and bigger with my value. That just seems to work quite well. And I mean, I do still have like a lot of outs. Like the Jack and Queen are probably live unless he raises me. Like if he raises me, I'd probably just fold. But, people very rarely raise a bluff in lower stakes. Like very, very rare. Sometimes I'll do it, but even I don't do it that often because I just kind of don't need to. Like usually my bluffs just get through and my value get through, getting called by what I want it to get called by. But yeah, just like dudes very exploitative bet sizes like that are actually kind of transparent when you think about them, but they just don't know how to deal with it. But yeah, ace-3 off is of course just a fold there, and yeah, this guy ends up getting jammed on. So yeah, I mean this guy also who jammed, like he hadn't really raised hand before, so that's just going to be the nuts, or very, very close to it. So yeah, now we're getting to blinds. It's still blinds at 25.50, but you remember it goes up to. Does go up quite soon as such. I was a little bit nervous there. I thought someone was like knocking on the door. I was like, what's going on? But yeah, even though this guy's a complete nit, first time he's raised a hand, like 10-8 suited, it does play quite well against aces, and I'm in position. Even if I'm against pocket aces, like I still have more or less the right odds, like considering he's not going to realize all of his equity out of position. And yeah, when he checks once, I think, okay, it's a little bit odd that he didn't see bet, but maybe he's, protecting a good hand. But he basically checked in like a millisecond, and that just told me that he'd given up in this spot. So yeah, I realized like my hand is not really a very good bluff candidate. I mean, it's not the worst bluff candidate. I mean, if I had a club in hand, it would block a lot of the bluffs. That would be quite bad. But I figure, okay, like if he's just got like some, Queen Jack or something, like it's just going to fold to a bet. And so I realize I don't have to bet big, like I just fold out all his junk, and yeah, it gets the job done. It also means that I'm now the chip leader on this table, which I remember, yeah, actually, I wasn't the chip leader the whole way through on the way to this victory, but yeah, like when I'd just check here. I mean, to be fair, I think in this spot I actually would have preferred it if I had raised like to 100, because like the guy like had only played one hand, he hadn't even raised it. So checking it is actually a little bit of a mistake, like only a small mistake, but it would have been better to raise this guy. But I guess, the one advantage of checking is that it does at least show I'm not like a complete maniac. It's showing, okay, there is a little bit of hand selection here. Of course, when you're blocking the calls, I think that this is a pretty easy check raise in this spot. When you have like top two, your block hand you want them to call with. And yeah, I mean, I get times like he might have, I don't know, like a 9-8 that, gets her on the turn, but it's pretty rare. Like you can't really think in these terms if you want to play like the best poker possible. And yeah, I just go for a small bet. I figure that he's probably not going to pay 100, but he'll probably pay 50 of all kinds of random hands. I mean, the fact I also block the flush, yeah, it does help a little bit. I figure, okay, I just hope that he hit the jack, so I just go for, pot value. I mean, there are opponents out there, like, against more experienced players, but I'd probably even overbet, make it like 400 or so, but I figured against this guy, like, let's just try to get paid by a jack, but he didn't hit it, or, even by, like, a curious 10 or a 6, but it is true we block it, and, okay, you're not always going to get paid, but still we do win the pot. And, yeah, there is a certain value in tournaments, like, I was, reading an old book by Phil Hellmuth, like, about from, like, 2 decades ago on his, no limit hold'em strategy. And there is a certain merit in, like, tournaments just to be able to just pick up the pots. And, Ace-4 2 is just a really perfect, candid to jam, like, among, like, the semi-bluff range. Because, I mean, okay, this guy, like, the small one might still call with some King X, but the big blind, is probably going to even, like, over-adjust and, like, fold some Ace X, like, that are better than mine as such, just because he values tournament life very highly. And that's something I kind of picked up on, actually. I was playing some hands. I realized that even though this guy here, in the small blind now was a bit of a maniac, at least early on in the event, I think he calmed down after I kept free betting him. He started to, it's like I slapped his hand away and he started to calm down and play a bit more normally. But I did get this feeling he was kind of over-folding to raises and to jams especially. So I kind of felt that's something I could potentially leverage. Now, King 9 suit is actually a hand I can jam in this spot. But because the guy here is such a nit, like it's the second hand he's raised the whole time, I decided to do a bit of an exploitative fold. I'm still happy I did it. Okay, when this guy free bets, we end up having a hand and ends up having pocket queens. Actually, I had forgotten that I saw his hand, so in that sense, like King 9, like, it would have just been suicidal to, to free bet jam with the way this guy was playing. And the Maniac, the format Maniac, let's say, ends up, getting down to just pure breadcrumbs. And we have a new chip leader, but the good news is that the chip leader is on my direct right. I have position on him, so it means I have the potential, to free bet over him if I want to. But I'm probably not going to leverage that because, well, first of all, he's basically a nit, is kind of what we figured from the earlier hand, most likely. And the other thing is also that, from the ICM perspective, if things go kind of normally, I'm probably just going to get at least second place if I just kind of fold and just play good hands, basically. So there's kind of no need to go for like an insane high variance route and, just standard check. And I sort of realized with this hand, I actually learned a lot about this guy from this hand. I realized he just never really bluffs, which sort of makes sense given he's sort of a nit pre-flop. But, there are some nits who are like nit maniacs. Like, I used to be one of them where I would play a very tight range pre, but then be very, very aggressive post. And I figure, okay, I've got showdown value, so let's just check it down. And, this Jack 8, like, you can get a lot from these showdowns, because he has an open-ended draw on the turn, and like if you put me in his shoes, like I'm betting 300 or 400 here, like it's not even that much of a question to me. With the open-ender, like he just has so many outs, and like even if let's say if the 6 of spades comes, like let's say he makes it 300, and let's just say for argument's sake I call, which I should do, I should just fold, but let's just say I call there, and then he jams, like it just puts me in an absolutely awful spot. Like, even if I have a king, I'm not really loving it in that spot there, because I'm only beating bluffs. So, anyway, he misplayed that quite severely, actually. And you could say it probably cost him the tournament in some respects, even though it was a small pot, the very passive way he played it. Just a pretty easy fold there. King 6. Yeah, this one is a jam. I mean, these stacks are very short, like they are meant to call with a bunch of Queen X. But I think, some of them, I don't know, like these guys with the turbos are pretty gambly. Like maybe this is a sort of jam that only gets called by better and folds out worse. I don't really have enough data on, the ignition pool to really say with certainty. Now that I think about it, I do think that I probably could also have just jammed for a committing raise that might have been more effective. But okay, it's a small point, I think. I mean, one thing with jamming is like that jamming mistakes are generally going to be very small, whereas calling mistakes are generally going to be very large. And that's a principle that's kind of served me well to sort of make some jams, like when I was sort of, on the precipice of do I like jam or do I just raise or do I fold? I realized like the jamming is going to be usually a smaller mistake than calling as a general principle. Seeing a few other hands pick up the blinds, always a nice feeling when that happens. This guy ends up jamming and gets it through. Just going to fast forward a little bit. I mean, this one's just a fold here. Curious to see what hand he had, though. I mean, I should remember it, but I wasn't really paying enough attention, I guess. But yeah, you can look at this, you see that, basically, he has pocket 10s, so it makes, like, the King X fold, like, really great. Like, you can't be results-based in a situation like this. So, moving on to this, ends up just getting through on his part. Queen 9 off, like, with the chip lead, like, I do think you can make an argument for raising, except that the stacks are left, you can very easily jam and put in a spot where you kind of have to call, you're an underdog. And when you're very often going to be dominated by, like, Queen Jack, King Queen, ace 9, king 9. So it's, because king 9 would be like the bluff on their part almost. But yeah, this one just a fold. Like queen 9 just doesn't really hold up. And yeah, you can see that in this hand, yeah, they both had better hands than what I did. So it was a very good fold. Yeah, this one, he just gets it through. I mean, it's basically like sort of the Ramo Jamo sort of phase of the tournament, where it's like blind 75, 150, and like 3 of the players are down to less than 10 big blinds. This guy has 12, this guy's 13, and I have 17. So yeah, I mean, obviously this is a dream. You get called and you pray that they have a weaker ace, which it turns out they do. But okay, we hit the 4 to a flush anyway. Not that we needed it, but it does give you like that funny thing on the ignition screen of like the flash, the flush sound, as it were. Yeah, it sounds quite melodic actually, for those who know what I mean. But yeah, this one just a fold. I mean, to be fair, I could jam like any 2 cards profitably, but I just feel like if I do fold a couple of these absolute garbage hands, like the 9 deuce offsuit, 7 deuce offsuit, it means that when I raise and jam later, they're going to kind of believe me a bit more. So it's sort of playing a little bit of the future game. Because the ICM doesn't really factor in the future game so much, where, yeah, I can... Okay, this one probably it is just going to be a fold here, like jamming it or raising would be going too far, but again, like there is advantage like to building up that little bit of an image where, some of your jams will get through a bit more later, and okay, these hands were both kind of a funny ones for them to have, but okay, they were both short stacked to be fair. So yeah, this one have another jam that gets through. So yeah, looking at the stack size, you can sort of see there's this tiny stack, this short stack, and yeah, 2 mid stacks, then me with like a pretty decent lead. Which yeah, I basically gain, just by sort of stealing the blinds quite a lot, and you can sort of see getting a few, kind of intelligent bluffs through. Like whenever I had a good bluffing candidate, or whenever they showed very clear weakness with their tells, I was able to really sort of latch onto it. And I mean, that's kind of the reason why I sort of like playing one table these days, because yeah, I realized that, I'd probably make more money if I was playing like 2 to 4 tables at a time, but there's something nice about just sort of being like totally present in the moment and just being able to just almost be able to tell almost exactly like what their sort of range is, or what part of the range they're in just by their tells. Whereas when you're playing multiple tables, it's much harder to pick up on those kind of tells in that sense. And yeah, this one is just like just denying the equity, just being able to play for a decent pot, and yeah, always nice when you hit your set and river a full house, just saying that any insult to injury. But anyway, we are now 4-handed, and yeah, I mean, when he makes it 4x, like, it's pretty obvious he's got a very strong hand here. Or he's got a very good bluff, but, I tend to bet more on people basically having value and playing it too transparently, rather than, doing a big bet as a bluff in a sense. Because I tend to be a bit more advanced, and, it's also true, folding kind of makes money in a sense. So yeah, one of the guys got eliminated. I kind of zoned out a little bit there, but yeah, we're one off the money. For those wondering about the ICM, basically first was 780 USD, and second was 420 USD. This one I realize, yeah, technically it is a defend, but I just think with the fact this guy was so nitty before, if he is exploiting me, like, I'm not losing that much money by folding king 3 off. But if he isn't exploiting me, if he's just a nit, then calling with king 3 there is just burning money, in my opinion. So I'm happy, just to fold, just keep the chip lead, and obviously happy to jam with queen jack suited. Like Richard, if I have any card over a 10 almost, I'm gonna jam in that spot, But okay, that's maybe not completely true, but it's close enough. And I realized, like, with these sort of raises, like, this is something I've incorporated in my game. Like, there was a time where I would just jam all the time, but then I realized I actually would make more money. If, with some I had, I did include these sort of smaller raises, which kind of just look like, oh, he's slow playing aces. Okay, slow playing is not the right word, but, like, it does make sense. Like, I will have, like, a lot of, aces, kings, queens. Like, these hands like that I'm just going to instantly call if they jam on me are going to be in this range. And then also, a bunch of hands are like, so, like barely good enough, like, to raise in a sense. Some that are also barely good enough to raise will go in the jamming range as well. Like, it's obviously going to be balanced where there's going to be, barely good enough hands, good hands, and great hands in each of the ranges. Like, for example, ace king off, I might jam, but ace king suited, I might do the min raise, for instance. But yeah, it works out pretty well. Yeah, for this, we get a walk. Always happy with that. Yeah, he jams. And again, you can see, like, this guy's just a nit. Like, I'm not going to pay him off. So we just fold. Yeah, I make it a min-raise with king, queen suited, which, yeah, if this guy jams, it would put me in an awkward spot. Like, I think I would probably end up calling with king, queen, because I'd feel like, okay, if he jams this one, well, he's probably now exploiting me. Think I'm just a total nit now. But, yeah, he folds in it, and it works pretty well. I mean, to be fair, like, it's a spot where, you know, with such a short stack here, he is going to be, like, to my direct left, he is going to be overfolding quite a bit here, you know, as he should do with ICM. Because he's going to get, you know, $420 by folding, like, the significant majority of the times. And, you know, if this guy 12, if he does, like, win a big pot for me, like, then suddenly he's, like, you know, equal chip leader as such. It's not even that bad for him, let's say, if I do, let's say, lose this all-in situation. I can't remember what this guy had now, but I think I had the better hand from memory. Yeah, I called with Jack 4, like, the guy. I mean, to be fair, like, it's 6 big blinds, like, I mean, I think he just got impatient and just, like, lost his patience, but if I had Jack 4 there, I probably am folding. I think if it's suited, I would jam it, but if it's offsuit, I think I would fold in that spot. But okay, he took a shot, and yeah, it just didn't work out for him. And with that, we're now at heads up, and okay, at this point, I mean, it is, you know, 15 big blinds or, you know, 14 big blinds. Like, it's not the point where we're just, like, jamming almost any 2 cards. And I figured, okay, this guy's a bit of a nit, so if he has a very good hand, he'll probably just jam on me. So I decided just to do this a little bit of a limp, and yeah, when he jammed, we just fold. Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of a time where I was kind of, yeah, just going for, like, a fold or jam strategy, just to kind of simplify things a bit. Because I don't think I really lose much EV with that, with, you know, so many big blinds here. And also I felt that he might overfold if I do min raises. That's kind of why I was doing that. Because by playing more pots in position, I could kind of outplay him a little bit more. I do think with the double backdoor, you can make a decent argument for betting here. Like, I think a bet of like 200 to 400 would be quite sensible. The reason I decided to check is that I did think that they would have a decent number of check raises on this board, which I'd have to fold. And I felt that I just have so many good turn cards here. Like a 7, a 9, a Jack, like even a king or an ace, like kind of is good for my range, and even a 6 gives me a gutcha. Like, there aren't really that many bad cards for me here. You know, there are a lot of spades as well. Like, that's virtually like over half the deck. It turns out that one of the cards is quite bad for me, but fortunately for me, he was, yeah, kind of just checking down. Like, that hand where you like check that Jack 8 free streets, like that kind of gave me some useful info. Anyway, I was okay, he probably hit a pair, but it's probably a weaker pair, so I just end up calling, and a little bit lucky for us, yeah, he had the flush draw and, you know, hit a pair and bet it out for value. But I just happen to have just the slightly better hand. Easy fold there. And this one, yeah, like A7. Like, at this point, I kind of figured, okay, this guy probably is just jamming any ace. Like, I sort of could feel Inchovi's getting a little bit impatient. And I think if you're starting to fold A7 here, like, you're just going to be massively exploiting yourself. So I do make the call, and again, end up getting really lucky on this one. I think he had a better ace with ace 10. So I guess my read of him being a nit was probably correct, and, you know, we just kind of got lucky that we hit the hand. I mean, this was the one hand where we actually did get quite lucky, like the other ones. We're really just kind of outplaying him, or, you know, if I got lucky, it was like for a tiny, tiny stack, like the freeze versus 9-8 flip. But okay, I mean, even if I lose this one, I mean, he's the chip leader, but, like, the game still goes on. But as it turns out, yeah, we get that little bit of good luck, and it does allow us to win this event. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Whereas, like, my video kind of like died off near the end, and, you know, got so caught up in the video, I kind of lost track of it. But, you know, it's all good. And yeah, let me know in the comments below, like, you know, what you really enjoyed about this little breakdown of my tournament. You know, if you have any suggestion of things you'd like me to include in some future videos, I'm certainly open to those ideas. And yeah, on that note, I will see you in the next one. Take care.